Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to Billing Management System Tutorials. Today is our lecture number 20 and in today's lecture we are going to continue our previous work that we have done in the previous lecture, that is invoice, the purchase invoice. Today is part number 3 and in the previous lecture we have designed the purchase invoice and we have taken the data from different tables of the database. Now let's start and have a look what we have today. In today's lecture we are going to insert the data of the purchase invoice into respective tables. So let's start. Alright, so as you can see I have opened the purchase invoice window in front of you people. Here I have changed a little bit, one more field I have added here, that is the owner, because when we are purchasing, so the purchase is from who, so we have to specify the owner here in order to maintain the ledgers appropriately with respect to the supplier and with respect to the owner who is purchasing the goods from this particular window. So let's first call the owners, all the owners that we have inside our software. For that purpose, let us go to the Solution Explorer and go on the customers window, where we have the shops window. Let us go on the shops, because in the shops window we are fetching the vendors or owners, whatever you can say. Let me give here the name owner so that it can become more appropriate in order to understand. So it should become owner, okay, shop owner, sorry for spelling. Now it's fine. Now let's see from where we are getting the owner. So it's coming from the form load of this. You can see get vendors. So copy this code, simple load list. You have seen this the details of this load list method in the previous lectures as well. So I'm just copying this and going on the purchase invoice and going on the load of this purchase invoice, and here I'm loading the owners of the software or the shop. Now let's start and see whether the owners are coming or not. Okay, the problem is with the name of the drop down list. Let me change it. Go to the purchase invoice and here the name is owner drop down, so you have to specify OWNER drop down. It's double D. Now save it and then run. Give here the login and then go to the purchase invoice, and here when you click the add button you can see here the owners are appearing. Okay, so how many owners you have, you can be able to manage from this particular drop down list. Now let's do the next step, that is to insert the records. To insert records from the purchase invoice into the software, we have to go on the SQL server and let me show you in what tables you should have to insert the purchase invoice data. Alright, so my SQL server is here and you can notice here we have the products table, and these are the columns that we have to insert inside products when we are when we click the save button of the purchase invoice, and same we have the product stock and then we have the purchase invoice. So let's start from the purchase invoice and see whether we have the stored procedure for purchase invoice or not. Okay, so we have the purchase invoice stored procedure. Let us open it and write the code for this in the Visual Studio inside the software. Here you see the supplier ID, the date and the user ID are the only parameters that you have to pass. So let's go and do the code. In order to write the save code, we have to first go on to the sample window to copy the overridden methods. Let's go on the sample 2 and then copy this save view and delete button, copy it and come inside the purchase invoice and paste anywhere in the class. Now these virtual keywords should be replaced with the overwrite in the current document. Now the functions are overridden from the sample class. Now what we have to do, we have to first check for the validations that whether the controls are left blank or not. So close everything and close the shops window. Go on, suppliers window should also be closed. Now purchase invoice. Now notice this is mandatory, this is mandatory, this is also, this is also, this is also. So everything is mandatory here except barcode. Okay, so we have to insert the purchase invoice data first. In order to do this, let us first write the if condition that we have written in the previous lectures like this. So I am going to check the controls whether any control is left blank or not. So come here and paste it, and here you are checking your left panel. So you can notice this is my left panel. Okay, if you see the properties, yes, this is my left panel, and whatever controls inside this left panel we have are validated with the help of this check controls method we have created in the previous lectures. Now I don't want to make this barcode as a mandatory control, so what I can do, I can make it allow drop true. So when we use allow drop true, it will not be validated by that validation method. Now save it, allow drop true. After this, let's write the else condition and come inside this, and then the next step is to specify the edit and the update code. So copy and come here and paste and write here else condition again. This is the code for edit for save, and this is the code for update. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now inside this save button, in the edit equals to 0, we have to specify hash table. We don't have hash table here, look, so write here hash table and then press control dot. You can use this namespace using system.collections ht purchase, okay, equals to new hash table. This is the universal crude work. Now ht purchase dot add, and you have to add the parameters for the purchase invoice. So what are the parameters? We have the supplier ID first of all. So in double quotes you have to specify supplier ID, then copy it and then paste it, and paste it we have 3. So date and user ID. So you can specify here date, and here you can specify user ID and verify yes. After this, what we have to do, we have to get the supplier ID. So from where we can be able to get the supplier ID? From here. So let us pick up supplier ID, convert dot to integer 32, verify the data type in the database in order to use this. Yes, it's integer, so integer 32 is perfect. Here you can specify supplier drop down dot selected value, because this is the data bound control and the ID is inside the value of this. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now let's go to the next, that is the date. So do we have the date here of purchase? Yes, we have the date, and the purchase date picker is the name. So purchase date picker dot value. This is how you can pick up the value, and then the user ID. So user ID is from the login module. So in this particular window we don't have the login module, so using authentication is my module, and then the user ID is picked up. See the starting lectures, I have done these things in the start of this project. Now after adding all the parameters inside the hash table, now it's time to call the method from the crude class, that is this one, crude dot insert update delete, and then bracket open. It is asking me the procedure for insert in the purchase invoice. So that's my insert procedure of purchase invoice, and then paste it here. Sorry, control Z. Let's go again and copy simple this. Now paste it. After this, it asks you to provide the hash table, that is my ht purchase. I hope it is clear up till now. So this is the one table insert. Now we have to add the next table, data. Let me make some separation boundaries so that you can be able to understand easily this code. I hope it is clear up till now. Now the next thing is the next table. After purchase invoice insert, what we have to do, we have to pass this data inside the products table. So for product, do we have the product insert? I don't think so we have the product insert. So let us go on the products table and see what are the columns. These are the columns, and based on these columns let us create a stored procedure. So create procedure st underscore insert products, and then parameters. ID is identity column, so product, and then the data type is varchar 100, and similarly the other variable should be created, that is the buying price, BP, data type should be money, and then it is asking for the selling price. But guys, you know, for selling price we don't have to pass selling price here, because we are just purchasing here. We'll separately add the selling price to every product after buying the adding the purchase invoice, after adding the purchase details. So what I can do, I can specify the selling price parameter here, but you can skip this parameter and you can pass the default value as well. So I am skipping this parameter right now, selling price, and then we have the property underscore pi, that is the purchase invoice ID. So you can specify purchase invoice ID that should be big integer because there is this big integer, and then it is asking the quality ID, so pro quality ID, and it should be integer, and then we have at the rate pro category ID, and it should be also integer, and then you have as, and now you have to write the insert into, and the name of the table is products, and then values. But because you have skipped the selling price column, so you have to make mention here the column names. Here after this you have to specify the columns, that is pro underscore name, and then you have pro underscore buying price, and then you are skipping the selling price, see on the left hand side in the object explorer, and then you have pro underscore purchase invoice, and then pro underscore product PQID quality, yes, and then pro underscore the next thing is PCID, so category. I hope it is clear up till now. So these are my columns, and respectively I will add the values inside this. So let me make it like this so that you can able to understand. So product, then you need the buying price BP, and then you need the purchase invoice ID, and then you need the purchase product quality, so product quality ID, and then at the rate product and the category ID. Okay, so I have skipped the selling price, and why I have skipped the selling price, let me make you remember that when I have designed this column, I have made this selling price value default 0. So let us go on the design and let me show you once again. Here this is the design view of the products table, and inside this you have the selling price column, and if you see in the properties the default value is 0. So if you do not insert selling price, the default value of the selling price will be automatically 0. Okay, and then you can be able to execute this. So commands completed successfully. Likewise you can be able to update the data as well, but we'll see that later on. Right now I'm only inserting. So insert products. Let's go and do the code for product insert. For this purpose I am copying this code from this to this again, and I'm pasting it after this line, and here it's st products. Okay, and remove these parameters and paste those that we have taken. I think I should close this. Yes, now you can be able to see the complete picture. The first parameter that we have to pass here is the product name. Copy and paste it. Then the next parameter is, sorry for that, mistakenly I have removed the code. Now BP, and then we have here BP, that means buying price, then purchase invoice ID. The reason why I'm copying this in order to avoid the spelling mistakes, because we are in recording mode right now, and remove these things that are inside this. Okay, that's it, and this should also be removed, and then we have the other parameters as well. So paste and paste. After purchase invoice ID we have quality ID, so you can be able to write here quality ID parameter, and here product category. So that's it. Now from where we are going to pick up the product, it is in the product text. So what is the name of my pro? It's pro text, I think. Yes, pro text.text, and then we have the buying price, so convert dot to double because it is amount, and here you can pick up from the buying price text BP or buying text dot text. You can apply a regular expression as well in order to avoid alphabets. Now purchase invoice ID, from where you can get purchase invoice ID, because you have inserted the purchase invoice right now, so you have to pick up the last purchase invoice. Do we have the last purchase invoice stored procedure? Get last purchase ID. Yes, we have it. So right click and modify and see this stored procedure as well. Look guys, So I have picked up the last ID, top one ID from purchase invoice table order by the primary key ID descending. That means the last ID that I have inserted, that is inserted inside this table, will be picked up. Now, so I'm using this for that purpose. Do I have the purchase invoice ID parameter here or the variable? No, I don't have. So what I can do, I'm creating here integer 64, a variable with the name purchase invoice ID, and then equals to 0 by default. Sorry for that, it is 0. Now come here and specify after this line, you can write purchase invoice ID is equals to convert dot to integer 64, and I have a method that is created for this purpose, that is crude dot load last ID or get last ID. Yes, so get last ID, and it is asking me the procedure. So where is my procedure? Here is my procedure. Copy this and paste it here simply. Okay, now after this the ID will be returned as an object, and it is converted into integer 64 and stored inside this purchase invoice ID. So can I pass here? Yes, I can pass here purchase invoice ID, that the last ID that is inserted. After that we have the product quality, so it's easy. Copy this code, convert dot to integer 32, this line, and here you can paste, and here also you can paste. And for quality, you can be able to write here quality drop down, and here you can specify category drop down. I hope it is clear to everyone. So cat drop down. So guys, everything is now perfect. Insert purchase invoice is the procedure, and the hash table should be ht products, and copy this ht products and paste it here, because the objects should be same, because with this object you are passing the records to the hash table. Now everything is perfect. So you have written the second table code for insert inside the database. Now the next step is the stock. So how many items you are going to stock inside the stock table? So let us open the stock table, and we haven't created the insert procedure for stock as well. So let me show you the stock table, product stock, and here inside this stock table we have the product ID and the quantity. Simple. So new query, create procedure st underscore insert stock, as this is asking me the product ID. So @ product ID, sorry, as should be after this, and it is big integer, so big integer, and then you can be able to write here after this product ID we have quantity, so quantity, and it is an integer, as insert into products stock and values, and then you have to pick up the column names, that is the variable product ID, and the second variable is quantity. So that is okay. Now execute this insert stock. After doing this, we have to come here and then specify stock. But the problem is, guys, stock is for every purchase item. That means this should be this table should take multiple inputs from this table. Okay, so guys, one thing that you have to specify here is after insert you have to pick up the last ID. But the problem is inside the okay, one more thing that I have done the mistake. First remove this and come here and then right here let me pick up the products, insert products, copy, and you can come here and then paste it. But guys, on every insert of the product we should select the last ID of the product, and it should be stored inside the stock as well. So what we can do, instead of adding separate things, let us do in this same procedure. After inserting the product, let us select the product. If I write here the query, that is select top one from products P and you can write here order by p dot id descending, and then top one what, p dot product id as id. So the last id is coming from this query, and if I create a variable here, declare @pro id is equals to, and the data type should be big int. Okay, so guys, the id will be picked up of the product, and now you have to insert it inside the stock table. Every time the product is inserted, every time when the product is inserted, the stock should also be updated inside the stock table. So we have the stored procedure for that. So if I use this insert stock and see what will happen, it's a new thing that I'm doing in front of you people. I haven't tried it before. So if I write here execute stored procedure, now insert stock, no, so it is asking me the parameters. So the parameters are product id and quantity. So can I write here id of the product, so that is @pro id, and comma, it is asking me the quantity. So quantity is somewhere, let's say QUAN. Okay, but the problem is it is showing me errors, could not find the stored procedure insert stock. Okay, I haven't executed thing. Executed, okay, the procedure is there already, so it's still saying me that this is the problem. Okay, one thing that we have to specify here is @product id, the parameters that we have used. I'm calling the procedure within a procedure. Let us try this. So @product id equals to product id, and the quantity is @con. So it's con equals to quantity should be taken from the top, so @QUAN, and it is integer, and then you can pass here the quantity QUAN, simple. But the problem is the name remains the same, so you can specify QUA and QUA here, so it is different. Now execute, and now it should work when I execute this stored procedure. So what will happen when we insert the product? The product should be inserted, then the last product will be picked up, and then it should store. Let us execute this and see what is the result. It is saying that, sorry, now execute. It's saying that already created this stored procedure. Okay, alter it, and now execute. Now commands completed successfully. Now in insert products, we have to add a parameter with QUA. So come here, and this is the insert product, and we are going to add a parameter here with the name QUA, and write here QUA, and then specify the quantity that should be in integer. So convert dot to integer 32. If it will not work, then we'll do it separately, no problem. That's a new thing that I'm trying in front of you now. QUNT quantity text dot text, quantity text dot value, I think, yes, because it is a numeric up down control. Now it's fine. One more thing that you have to specify is toString here, because toString is easily converted into integer 32. Now after QUA you have insert products. What will happen then? When this will happen, the insert will be taken place, the product ID will be taken place, and the insert stock will also be executed. Okay, so that's it. We are not going to call the stock table here. Now what's saying? It's saying me expected a bracket. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, now what other tables I should insert? One more thing, because products are multiples. So you have to pick up the products and the buying price and the qualities and the categories from the grid view. For that purpose, what we can do, we can come here and write for each data grid view raw ROW in data grid view 1 dot rows. So every row will be picked up one by one in this for loop, and now cut it and paste it, and here in the products you can be able to write here raw dot cells of pro GV or product GV. Okay, it should be inside double quotes dot value dot toString. So this is how you map, because there are multiple products. Now buying price, so how can you pick up the buying price? Instead of this, copy this all and paste it here in the buying price, sorry, Control Z. Now here you can specify buying GV or BP GV. So buying, what is the name of the buying column? Let us see. Buying price is there, but the spelling I don't remember. Let us verify. It's price GV. Okay, so let us write here price GV, and then here purchase invoice ID. So do we have the purchase invoice ID column? But we don't need the purchase invoice ID because this is the one purchase invoice ID. That's the fine thing. Now the quality, yes, quality we can be able to pick up from the grid view, because there every product has its own quality. So paste, and here you can specify the column name, that is quality GV, but you need to pass the ID, so quality ID GV, that's the better thing. Okay, in the previous lecture I have created these columns, and now we have the category. So copy this all. Okay, it's saying that there is an error. I think the bracket is missing. Yes, now remove this and paste. One bracket is all required, and here you can specify the category ID GV. So category ID GV. I hope it is clear up till now, guys. If you do not understand anything, please ask me, no problem. So that's my grid view column. Now the quantity. So where are you, from where you are picking up the quantity? Yes, of course, again you are picking up the quantity from the grid view. So paste, and it should be QUAN quantity GV. Every time the quantity will be changed, and then it is passed to the insert products. I hope it is clear up till now. So this is what we have done, but the barcode is missing. So where you should add the barcode, let us go and inside the database and see in where this barcode column should fit. So in the product, yes, of course, the product table should have the barcode column. That is optional. So let's go on the design, and right here pro underscore barcode, pro underscore barcode, and it should be nvarchar and say 100, and make it null, save it. A warning appears that these are the tables that are affected. Yes, if everything is fine, then it will be saved perfectly. Yes, so everything is now mandatory here. Selling price is also, product name should also be not null. It's fine now. So barcode, inside the insert product we have to add the barcode query as well, but barcode is sometimes there, but and sometimes it may not be. So what you can do, you can simply add it inside the insert stored procedure of the product. So go there inside the product insert, and here you can specify the barcode at the rate barcode, that should be nvarchar 100. You can specify as per your requirement, no problem. And then you can be able to write here after this pro underscore barcode. Let me refresh it. Now we have columns, and the barcode is this pro underscore barcode. This is my column name, and the data should be taken from this barcode. Okay, now execute it again. Commands completed successfully. Come here inside the code and copy this line and paste it here, and instead of this hole, remove this and write here this code, row dot cells of this particular column, that is the barcode column. So you can specify barcode GV here. So if the barcode is there, then it will be picked up, otherwise blank value will be inserted. So barcode is the parameter, and here remove this and paste it. So everything is now taken from this particular grid view. Okay, so what's next? After doing this all, we have to show the message that data inserted successfully or purchase invoice created successfully. So for that purpose, we have the main class dot show message, and then the message should be purchase invoice created successfully. Okay, purchase invoice created successfully, and then we have to make mention here the type of the message, that is success. Save it, and then that's it. After saving this, we have to remove the grid. So data grid view 1 dot rows dot clear, because it is not a data bound control, so I'm clearing the rows, and then we have to use main class dot reset reset and disable the controls of the left panel, and then close it. So let us now try whether it works or not. Start. But the thing that we have still remaining is the supplier and the owner ledger. We have to insert in the supplier ledger, because we are purchasing from the supplier. So supplier account is you can say we are going to debit the amount in the supplier, and we have to credit the amount inside the owner. But the thing, we haven't paid the amount to the supplier, so supplier amount is credited and our account is debited with respect to our assets. Okay, so let us first do that as well in order to maintain the ledger. First of all, when we are purchasing, but one more thing that we can do here is to add a option here that we are purchasing on cash or we are purchasing on credit. So it's up to you. Okay, so I have decided to continue here with another parameter, another value, that is payment type, cash or credit. So let us take a text box that should be product, let's say, and paste it here. So whether you are purchasing on cash or whether you are purchasing on credit, so it should not be the text box, it should be the drop down list. So copy it and paste it here, and payment type you can select two ways, cash or credit. Okay, so you are purchasing on cash or credit. If the purchase is on cash, then you can specify the amount or how much amount that you are going to pick up. Okay, but the problem is I am not recommending you to add amount here, because let's say somebody is you are picking up the amount and you have paid half of the amount for the current time being, and then half of the amount is paid later on. So this is a little bit more trickier. So in order to handle this situation, what we have to do? Okay, so if the payment type is cash, okay, so we have to specify a text box to deliver the cash, how much amount the person is paying. So now guys, it is a mathematical stuff starting on, so please listen carefully. So this is my cash label. Let me rename it to cash label. Okay, and then you can change the text of this label to cash amount, and it should be visible false by default, and this label, this text box should be named as cash txt, and then this is my button. Okay, so place it appropriately. Now it's fine, and increase its size on the from the right. Now cash amount, cash text, it should also be visible false, or you can make them disabled. Visible false. Okay, now it's fine. The next step is to add the ledger. When we are purchasing, the supplier amount is credited first. When we are purchasing, the supplier amount is credited first. So insert supplier ledger. Do we have that stored procedure? Insert supplier ledger. Yes, we have that. Open it, and we can find it. We have the code inside the software by default as well. Insert supplier ledger. Let us go here and go to the code and then find insert supplier ledger. If you simple write it and find it in the entire solution and go, let us see whether we have this. And I am definitely okay. The spelling of the supplier is incorrect. Now it's fine. Check it. So you can see, guys, I have this whole code written here. So copy this code. This is from the suppliers window I'm picking up, and now you have to add here after this line, make a separation bar again, because you have to add the supplier ledger. Paste it here. You need debit, credit and balance, and the supplier ID as well. So you are picking up the supplier ID from this. Copy, and you can make it here. Now that's fine. Now the next thing is the debit, credit and the balance values. So let me create here double debit equals to 0, comma credit equals to 0, and then where I have to specify the balance as well. Balance equals to 0. So by default these three things are 0. What we have to do, if we have the previous balance of the supplier, first we have to pick it up that. Okay, so get supplier balance. Do we have that? See here, get balance or get supplier balance. No, we don't have the last balance of the supplier. So in order to do this, we have to add here create procedure st underscore get supplier balance if the balance was there. So get supplier balance as select top one from supplier ledger sl order by sl dot supplier id descending. So the last balance of the supplier will be picked up, top one sl dot, and then the balance as balance. Okay, so the last balance of the supplier is picked up and it will be executed. Now one more thing that you have to specify after this is the another procedure. So copy it and get last owner balance. So do we have the get last owner balance? No, we don't have. So right here get last or owner balance. So OWNER, and here from instead of supplier ledger you can specify vendor ledger. Mistakenly I have given the name vendor, so it's owner basically, so don't confuse from this. So VL dot balance, the top one balance, the last balance should be picked up, VL dot ID, because it's a primary key and descending means the last the last value. Okay, so from owner ledger we are picking up these two and the supplier ledger as well. Now we have to pick up the last ID. So what we can do, we can come here at this point before inserting inside the supplier ledger. We can write here balance equals to convert dot to double, and inside this double we have to specify the crude dot get last ID, and it is returning an object basically. So we have to specify the procedure. The procedure name is that one, get supplier balance first. So you can now write semicolon at the end. So this is your balance with respect to the supplier. Now when you are adding the balance here, what you can do before adding the balance, why it is showing me error? It is saying that expected a bracket. Okay, now it's fine. So the formula of the balance is equals to balance plus. Now what is the value of debit? So before adding this, we have to specify debit. So in order, when we are purchasing from the supplier, okay, so the supplier amount is credited. That means whatever amount I'm going to enter, it should be credited from the. So one thing that is the credit amount. So you can specify credit first. Credit equals to the total amount. So where is the total amount in the purchase invoice? We have the total amount inside the gross label, if I'm not wrong. Yes. So gross dot toString, sorry, gross is the value that should be added here, and then the debit should be 0, and debit is 0 by default. Now the formula is balance equals to balance plus debit minus credit. Okay, so this is the value, how the things going on. And now you can specify debit as 0, credit as whatever you have, the total amount, and the balance is the remaining. And then the date time. So the date time should be picked up here from the date time picker. So purchase date picker dot value, and then the purchase invoice ID is here because we have picked up the purchase invoice ID already at this particular point. So purchase invoice ID was also there. Now after this all, we have to insert in the owner ledger as well. So make a separation so that you can be able to understood. Okay, a bracket is not required here. Now for that purpose, for owner ledger, let's go and see the code get supplier or insert vendor ledger. Right click and then go to the or you can specify F2, click F2 and then copy this name and come here and then press Ctrl F and then Ctrl V and then find. You can see I have written the code as well here. So I'm copying this also from the vendor, from the payments window in this BMS. So copy, but the problem is inside the vendor ledger we have to specify the sale invoice ID, but we are not going to add any sale invoice ID. So copy it and come here and paste it. Now this is your HT3 and here you need to add the shop ID. Okay, so guys, you are purchasing for which shop, you have to specify that as well inside this bill management system. So we don't have any shop here. Look how things are going worse and worse when you are doing this. Okay, so for that purpose, after selecting supplier, after selecting owner, you have to select the particular shop for which you are purchasing the goods. So come here after this and move these columns little bit downward and then copy this and paste, and here you can specify the shops. Okay, I think it's in the line. Yes, it's in the line. Now increase its size from there and now select all this, make them bottom arranged properly. Now it's fine. So it should be the shop. Okay, so you can select the shops with respect to only that owner, so it should become shop drop down. So after doing this, we have to specify the shops with respect to the owner. So get shops, do we have that? Get shops, but we have the shops. Let us open this and see whether it is coming with respect to the owner or not. Okay, so this is my get shops to stored procedure. So guys, you can be able to pick up the shops. Okay, now here there are two options. You can remove the owner as well, but I'm not going to remove the owner as well because I'm using this owner ID as a point to insert inside the ledger. So shop ID should be loaded also. It is shop drop down. So shop drop down is the name written. Let us go on the load and load the shops as well. So copy this code and paste it below, and here you can specify the get shops and paste it here, and the display, the name and the value is, the display name should be shop and the value is ID. Okay, these two columns. Now everything is loading from the database. Let us go on the code again. Here you need the shop drop down, so the shop ID is now coming, and now you need the description. So what should be the description here? Vendor, whatever, who is the vendor, or the supplier. So you can specify supplier name. How can you specify the supplier name? Or instead of specifying supplier name, you can specify amount as, or goods sold. Yes, the description should be goods sold rupees, and here you can specify the gross label or the gross value as payment, as, remove this as, why is saying, okay, it's two string, it should be two string. Gross is the value, the gross is the variable that we have created in the previous lecture. So goods sold rupees, this to who? We have to specify the name of the owner or the shop here. For that purpose, let me write here data raw view, because that is a data bound column. So data raw view drv equals to, and then typecasting data raw view, and then specify your shop ID. Okay, shop drop down dot selected item, that's it. Now you can specify drv here, and the column name should be 1, so the shop name will be picked up. So the description will be inserted inside the software, inside the ledger of the supplier. Sorry, that's the, oh my god, I have done mistake. Let me remove this all. Sorry guys for that. This is the description line of owner. So remove this description line from the owner, and here you can specify the description at this point. Okay, so that's the supplier. Okay, so in supplier ledger you are writing goods sold of rupees this amount to this particular shop. So let me write the cut the drv as well. Okay, sorry, cut, and then you have to specify here as well. Now it's fine. So this is the thing that we have done. Now at the same time, you see here the sales invoice ID. I am removing this parameter from here, and for that purpose I am going to inside the supplier ledger first. Guys, these are the random things, and during development everything is coming in between. So in order to avoid this, I am first removing the purchase invoice ID from my supplier ledger. Okay, save it. Yes. Now inside the supplier ledger insert, let us go to the insert supplier ledger, modify, and we have to remove the purchase invoice ID from that as well. Okay, so I am removing this, and here as well remove this, execute, commands complete successfully. And same is the case, insert vendor ledger, and I am removing here the sale ID, because at the purchase invoice point we don't have any sale ID, so we cannot add a dummy ID. In the previous lectures I have added a dummy purchase invoice ID, if you remember, so I am removing that work. So sale ID I have removed, sale ID I have removed from this. Now we have, okay, the problem is we have to go first in the table of the vendor ledger. Okay, so where is the vendor ledger? Here we have the vendor ledger. Right click on it and then modify, go to the design and remove the last column in the vendor ledger, that is the sale invoice ID. Remove it and save it. Guys, the thing that I have done here is a lot of means. Let me execute this first. Execute commands complete successfully. Now when we are in the suppliers window, look, when we are in the suppliers window, we are picking up we are adding the purchase ID. So it's not good to write here the purchase ID, because at this point we do not have the purchase ID, because we are adding suppliers, if I'm not wrong. Yes, so comment it out, and where we have to, no, this should be comment, and this should also be comment, because this is not required. Supplier ledger, the purchase invoice is no further. And now inside the vendor window, let us go to the Solution Explorer and vendor window. Right click, go to code, and here you have to remove the ledger of the vendor. No, it's not. Yes, vendor, and then in the vendor window I haven't added the opening balance, guys. So here the supplier ledger or the vendor ledger is managing with respect to how. Let us see. Right click, and you can notice we have done another mistake. There should be an opening balance for the vendor as well, that how many amount he should have or she should have inside his particular shop. So let us right click on the vendor and design it and add an opening balance just like the supplier ledger. So right click and design it. Here you can specify vendor ledger, it is owner ledger, okay, and opening balance, and it should be money, and it should be not null for current time being, vendor ledger. And here you can go inside the insert vendor. Where is that? Insert vendor, right click, modify, VL underscore open bal is the column name. Here you can come and write @balance, and it should be of money data type, and then here you can specify @balance, and now execute. Okay, it's saying that there is a problem. An explicit value for the identity column. Okay, let us go to the vendor ledger. Sorry, this vendor ledger. Let's go inside the vendors. Right click on it, design, and see, I don't have the opening balance. So where I have added the opening balance? Okay, I have specified. Sorry guys, I'm recording for so much for so long, so I'm skipping the things now, but no problem. We have added the opening balance in this particular window. Okay, so that's what's my mistake. You have to cut it, save it, and you have to add it inside the particular vendor. Okay, let us see the suppliers first. In the suppliers, do we have the opening balance? No, we don't have the opening balance. We have the opening balance in the ledger. So what we can do, we can insert in the vendor ledger when we are inserting inside the vendor. Okay, that is the thing. So we don't need to execute this. Close it. I haven't used. Okay, let us see the final picture, guys. This is my vendors table. There is no balance table. So and here inside the vendor ledger, you can see you have the same thing. Nothing is changed. In fact, you have to call that vendor ledger code. Let me copy that vendor ledger code. Where is that? It is the insert supplier ledger where we have the vendor ledger. Let us find it. Insert vendor ledger, search it. Here you have the insert vendor ledger. Copy it and go in the vendor. After inserting the vendor, we have to paste it here and specify the values here. But the problem is, do we need shop ID in the ledger? Yes, we need the shop ID as well, but at this particular point, when we are adding a vendor or the owner should not have any shop. So what to do here? Alright guys, so you can notice here the shop ID is now creating a problem. Okay, but what we can do, the shops belong to the vendors. Okay, so every shop has its own balances and all the things and all the accounts with respect to that shop. So I'm removing this code from here and saving it, and let's go to the shops window. Where's the shops? Yes, here we have the shops window, and here I am when I'm creating a shop and that shop belongs to a particular owner. Here I can write the opening balance and all the things. So let's go to the code. After adding the shops, we have to do this. Here at this point, let us do this. Now the shop ID is required, so get last shop ID. Do we have the get last shop ID? Yes, get last shop ID is there. So copy it and then come here, insert after this, right here shop ID is equals to convert dot to integer 32, and then you can specify crude dot get last ID, and inside this pass your procedure. So last ID of the shop will be picked up, and now you can specify the shop ID here, simple shop ID, and then the description here is the opening balance, because the shop is opening for the first time, the account is edited. And now the next step, how to specify the debit and the credit. Simple, you have to create some variables here. Double debit equals to 0, credit equals to comma, credit equals to 0, and then we have the balance equals to 0. Because you are adding for the first time, what you have to do, you have to write here some condition for the debit and the credit. For that purpose, I am writing here at this point, if the amount that is inside the dot to double round brackets, and now let's go to the opening balance of the where we have to go for the opening balance in the supplier window. Yes, copy this code, come here and paste inside the shops window. Okay, now opening balance, and the text name is OB text. Now the next step is to get the code. In the shops window, we have to write here, if OB text dot text is less than 0, that means credit equals to the amount is math dot round, and here you can specify convert dot to double and copy this and paste it here in order to remove the negative sign. Okay, and then else if it is greater than 0, that means you are in debit mode. If you enter the amount greater than 0, then what will happen? If the amount is less than 0, then credit is this, debit is this, and the balance is balance equals to balance plus debit. That's why I have removed. Okay, one more thing that you have to do, it's not round, it's ABS, absolute. Yes, so what will happen, the negative sign will be removed and then it will be stored inside the credit. So debit plus credit. That's why in order to make the calculations right and in order to remove calculate it properly, I have removed the minus sign, because here we have minus and minus minus will become plus. That's why I have used this absolute sign, so the minus sign will be removed and then the balance will be calculated. Similarly, copy this when the amount is greater than 0. So what will happen? The credit should become 0 and the debit should become this, and then the rest of the formula remains the same. Okay, so this is how you can do the things. Now debit, credit, and the name is balance. Okay, so opening balance and then the date time picker value. So amount, so date time dot now, date time dot now. Okay, so account added successfully, and remove this. Now it's fine. And then guys, this is how things can work. Now we have added with respect to the shop. So this vendor ledger is basically now the shop ledger. We will rename it, but today the time is so much, we'll do that later on. We have to finish the purchase invoice as well. So now the shop ledger is inserted. The next step, what we are doing, actually we are doing inside the purchase invoice, and after inserting the supplier ledger, we have to increase the shop ledger now. So the shop ID is there, the description is this shop that we have selected from here, purchasing or purchased goods worth rupees, and then the amount that should be in gross dot toString. Okay, and then you can specify from, and then the name of the supplier. So how can you pick up the name of the supplier or the shop, sorry, from the supplier? So you can specify one thing, that is data raw view. Let me copy this line and paste it here and specify the supplier drop down, and then from that supplier, so from DRV2, it should be DRV2 because DRV is already up above. Now DRV2 dot of 1, because on first we have the name of the supplier. So goods purchased worth rupees. This is, guys, this code is for shop. So this shop has purchased the goods of rupees this from this supplier, and then the debit, the credit, the balance, and then the value should be from the purchase date picker. Copy and paste. So guys, now after all this stuff, we have done 4 things. I'm summarizing the things. First of all, we have inserted inside the purchase invoice, then we have picked up the purchase invoice, then we have run a loop because to insert the stock and the insert products both together, and then we have the get supplier balance, and then the calculation of the balance is done here when we are doing with the supplier. But here for shop we have to do the same calculation again. So copy this and paste it here. Now here we have to specify get last shop balance. So close it where we have that. I have created 2 procedures. Let me show you. Get owner balance, basically that's the shop balance. So copy and paste it. Now the last ID of the shop, the last balance basically will be picked up in the balance, and because this is the owner, and now you have to write here some condition that whether the amount is exactly on credit or on debit. If the amount is in credit, then you have to do something, and if the amount is in debit, then you have to do something. But get owner balance, the last balance of the shop will be picked up, and then because you are purchasing, so the purchasing should be demonstrated here as credit. No, you have credited inside the supplier. Now here you have to debit because your assets are increasing, so the gross should be here, let me write the gross and the credit is 0, and then the rest of the formula remains the same. Okay, this is the overall summary. Now what is the next step? The next step is you have to add one more entry again inside the supplier ledger and inside the inside the shop ledger, because let's say if you are let me close all thing. Inside purchase invoice, when you come down and let's say if you are paying some amount and the amount is less than the current amount, if that is the case, then you have to specify another entry inside the ledger that this amount is paid to the supplier, okay, and this amount is returned, debited and credited, so the reverse effect should be taken place. So I am copying this all at this particular point here. I have copied this all, and let me make it another separation, and then come inside this and write here double entry, okay, and now you have to specify a condition that if the amount is in credit, if the amount is in credit or if the amount is less than the current, so if you can specify convert dot to, first of all we have to check the condition if that text status payment type, you have to name it type drop down. If type drop down dot selected value dot selected item dot to string is equals to okay, I think I must stop the recording because it's too much time. We should continue in the next part, no problem. So if it is cash and then come inside, then what you should do, you should write here if type drop down if the amount in the amount text convert dot to double, and then come inside this, and then the value of his cash text dot text. If the amount that you are entering is less than the amount in the gross, then what you have to do, you are paying, because it is in cash, because if you are paying some amount to the supplier, then the reverse entry in the supplier balance should be inserted first. So let me copy this first, and we have to paste it here. Now here you have to pick up the last supplier balance, then because you are paying to the supplier, so the amount that you are paying to the supplier is convert dot to double and round brackets open close, and then here you can specify the cash text dot text, okay, and then the credit should be 0. So the amount is debited inside the supplier balance, that next the case, and here you can specify ST100 and then ST100 everywhere, because in order to remove the naming conflict, paste, 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 and here also paste, and here you can specify DRV100, and here you can call DRV100, okay, so that the name should remain different. Now the next thing is, okay, you can create a function as well, because the balance, the formula is the same, so and every time you can change the debit, credit, and the purchase invoice IDs and all that. So purchase invoice ID remains the same and all the things remains the same. The debit credit balance you have changed, because now if the cash is the amount and you are paying some amount, and if it is less than that, then you can do that. But if it is equals to this, so what will happen? If the amount, let's say your gross total is 550,000 and you are paying 50,000 to the supplier, then still you are giving it to, but there should be no greater than the current amount. Now this is one entry. The next entry should be with respect to the shop. So copy this, and here you can specify HT100 also. Now it's fine. The next step is this, get owner balance. The last balance will be picked up, and now because you are paying, so the amount that you are going to pay is in this. So copy, and then here you can specify, because you are giving the amount, so it is credited from there, and the debit remains 0. If you are giving some amount, then the debit remains 0, and then the formula, and then it should be 300, let's say. Copy, paste. I'm trying to minimize the errors that will come after so much efforts, and then here it should be 300. Okay, so I hope you have understood up till now. Please see this video carefully again and again in order to understand this. It should be DRV 300, and here you can specify DRV 300. It should be DRV 300, let's say. This is the name, no problem about this. Now what's left? Let's say if somebody is selecting the amount as credit, so you can specify one thing here, that type drop down, if type drop down dot selected item dot selected index is not equals to -1, then come inside and then specify if type drop down dot selected item dot toString is equals to cash, and else come inside. So if cash, then what you can see, cash label dot visible equals to true, because that were invisible by default, and cash text dot visible equals to true. Okay, now you have to make here false as well. If it is other than cash, then you have to make it false, and you have to clear the values. So visible false and false, and if it is visible, then cash text dot allow drop is equals to false. That means it can be validated, and here you can specify allow drop true. That means it will not be then validated. I hope it is clear to now. Now what's the next step? If I am selecting the debit, guys listen carefully, if I am selecting the credit, then this should not be there. And if I am purchasing something in credit, that means I have to pay. So the amount, do we have to then enter the double entry effect inside this? If there is not cash, there is credit, then what will happen? Okay, now it's fine. Everything is now fine from my side. One thing that you have to do here is inside the purchase invoice, we have to add a status column, because you can receive the payment later on as well. So inside the purchase invoice, you have to right click and add a column, PI underscore status, that should be tiny int, and then it should not be null, and the default value in this is 0. Let us write here the default value as 0. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, it's saying that there should not be the null value. Okay, make it nullable first. Now save it, because there is already data inside the purchase invoice. Now it's saved, and now you have specified the default value as 0, and then you don't have to insert the purchase invoice status right now, so default value is 0. Next, we'll have to check this. Let us see. I don't think that everything will be perfect because we have done a lot of code today. I think I should stop here. I have done the code. Look, it's showing me errors. Why? Let me see what is the problem. ht3 does not exist in the current context. Okay, this should be removed because we are not going to insert any vendor code. Now it's fine. That was the mistake. So guys, all the purchase invoice task is successfully created, alhamdulillah. So if in case of any error, we'll try to resolve it in the next class also, or next class as well. Okay, so that's all for today. Hope you have understood whatever we have done. It's a huge process to create a software. Look, so things are started to raise the errors. No problem, the owners are coming, the shops are not coming. So this is the problem. We'll see that in the next class. Hopefully you have understood everything. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.